Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of On the Paint Table. This is my weekly show where you see what I got done and what I'm working on and what is coming up. So this week I painted, 12, 13, 21 models for a couple of different games. I painted a 7th man for Blood Bowl 7s for my dwarf team. I guess 7th dwarf, the 7 dwarves. Oh geez, how did I miss that? To try Blood Bowl 7s, and then also Planet 28. I painted up some 28 style bad guys for the solo expansion and campaign Death on the Periphery, as well as my little warband Inquisitor Absalom Knox and his sort of like cohorts. I also painted up the 2-player starter set for Pulp Alley 2nd edition, the sort of modern classic Pulp miniatures game with the 2 leagues that are included in the box, which is Nerva's Mercenaries and the Dundee Scholars. I assembled and primed my 2nd edition Blood Angel project that I'm working on and got some cool stuff that showed up in the mail. So let's take a look at what got done and what is coming up. So first things first, here's my Planet 28 project all painted up. I painted up some citizenry slash workers for the solo rules for Planet 28 Death in the Periphery. This is the Escape from Leicester 7 like citizens that are part of the revolution. You can see it's not going well for them. They're not in a great state. These are some of the old Fanatic era scabies from Necromunda, and then the Dark Vengeance cultists, which are always a great candidate for some messy sort of Blanchett style painting. And these were just painted with like kind of like a slapping of various colors, and then some oil washing, some dry brushing, some weathering pigments, and then some like bright contrasting colors to give them that kind of pale skin, rotting, not so healthy, grim, dark kind of a look. And then over here, I've got my warband. This is Inquisitor Absalom Knox. You can see he's a fairly radical Inquisitor, wearing some power armor. He's got his big powered blade there, heavy pistol with some upgrades and stuff to it. And he's kind of just a fanatical radical, trying to get the best technology. I figure my backstory for him is he got lost at some point in Trazeen the Infinite's Tesseract maze and has escaped, and since escaped, and now he's slowly trying to hunt all of the technology he can find from the Necrons to improve himself and his ability to battle for the Emperor. And then I've got his bounty hunter. This is Fetch Andoon, my sort of like ex-guard turned bounty hunter. He's just a conversion of like a variety of like Space Marine scout bits, guard bits. I think there's some Marauder bits in there to make like kind of just a sort of generally grimy looking Imperial badass. And then Osmond, the pilot, who is also my like rifleman, seconded to Inquisitor Knox as just like I guess a technical guy. He flies his ship and doesn't tend to like to get in a fight. He's kind of a coward, not a bit weedy. And then I painted up the Overlord. This is the Imperial Governor they're going to rescue, not because of any sense of duty, but because when you're a radical Inquisitor, having an Imperial Governor in your pocket, especially from one that's like a bit corrupt because he's from Leicester 7, is always a good idea. And this is I think he's an Imperial Navy adjutant from the Guard Army in 40k that just kind of fit perfectly as an Overlord. So I painted him up in like he's slightly healthier looking than everyone else, as you can see. Everyone else is in kind of like not the best like healthiest skin tones. That's part of being grimdark, from what I can tell, is having poor skin tones. The pilot's in not the worst shape ever, but the governor is the one who looks like, you know, a little bit pink and flush, because you'd figure that of all of them, he might have a bit more access to vitamin C or vitamin D and just like being fed and well taken care of. These are some old conversions I did ages and ages ago. I'm glad I finally got to paint them. And I tried out the 3-game campaign that you'll see starting next week for Death on the Periphery. I also painted up this fellow. I was lucky enough to have a single extra dwarf blocker from the new dwarf team, because I have my new Blood Bowl team, which is the Midtime Maulers, painted up, and you get a dwarf sprue in there, but you can't actually use 3 blockers. You can only use 2. So having a spare one meant I could make my 7s crew, but I need like one more dwarf positional basically to play 7s properly. So I think I want another blitzer, I'm thinking. Although an extra runner is probably handy too. So I gotta try and find just a single one to make my 7. I mean, what I really need is I need a blitzer and then 2 more blockers. No, 3 more blockers. Because I need to be able to take the crew to a total of 11. Because that's your maximum right there. So I gotta find like an extra frame basically of dwarves. And I painted up this cool little number that comes with these 2 starter crews, or leagues is what they're called. Which is the 2nd edition Pulp Alley starter set. You get to see Let's Play for this coming up soon. Now, if you haven't heard of this is a design your own like roster miniature game. And it's really heavy on the being able to create your own like dudes with perks and various abilities and stuff. And it's not so much equipment heavy as it is skills heavy. So your heroes, you can kind of use whatever miniatures you want. You give them attributes and skills that kind of make fit like what the model looks like. And then you've got your two kind of like different leagues. And even the leagues themselves, like if you're a weird, you know, cult hypnotized by a giant space meteor, which is what my Minerva's Mercenaries are going to be, you can have like traits that make you act differently, kind of as a whole, which is your league attributes, or same with the scholars over here. And then there's all kinds of cool things like your objectives are called plot points. You have like a pregame sequence where you like follow lead and investigate and stuff like that. And it kind of plays out like a movie. Even the person that's activating the miniatures and choosing who is activating them is called the director. And so it's very cinematic. It lends really well to like storytelling. It can be played with 1 to 4 players. The game box comes with the stuff for a 2-player game. So 2 leagues and the core like deck of the starter set, like sort of like stuff, which is you play with a league against another league, and you have like the cards, the event cards that kind of represent that. But there's a free downloadable solo card deck too that modifies it for solo play. And I'll give a try to the 2-player version and then play some solo missions as well. I think you can definitely expect a crossover between these and the late 80s, early 90s sort of like theme I had with Agent Duchovny and Anderson investigating, you know, weird occurrences. This rule set will lend itself really well to those models as well. And yeah, I can't have a weird meteor cult without some appropriate bad guys. I was really lucky. Mark Thurr, who has a very nice 3D printer apparently, sent me some bad guy models to use in things like Perilous Tales, and they will fit in great with Pulp Alley as well. This is some sort of mythos style stuff. We got some kind of Hounds of Tyndalosy looking dudes. A big, I don't know if you call it a Shoggoth, but some type of like Yeti Shoggoth-y thing. What's definitely going to be an awesome Wendigo for both this and I'm thinking I'll use it as the Wendigo for, what's it called? For not Morkborg, Forbidden Psalm, because there's a Wendigo in that one too, and this is going to fit perfectly in that aesthetic. And then this weird kind of like space bug thing. And they'll paint up super nicely. I'm not actually sure where they're from. I'm sure Mark can tell us in the comments. I think they're from one of these sort of like Patreon sculpting things. It's like a horror set of like Outer Gods stuff. I'm sure Mark can tell us in the comments where it's actually from, but big thanks to him, and I'm stoked to paint them up for some of my Pulp games and sort of like Mythos style games. And then look at this ancient bunch of devils. This is going to be my 2nd edition Blood Angel army. The only thing missing from this picture is going to be the Dread, because he's in several pieces, because if you haven't painted Old Metal Dreadnought, it's a bit heavy and you kind of want to do it in sections. So imagine this plus a Dreadnought. This is what a 1,500 point army looked like. And this is even character heavy. I have a captain. I did like a full command squad basically, or like a command staff, because I just wanted to paint them. So I have a captain. He's got a backpack with a banner, or not a banner, a cape that I'm going to paint separately. This is the old Blood Angel captain, late Rogue Trader, early 2nd edition. They did a series of these. There was an Ultramarine with like the horse comb helmet, a Dark Angel with a big feather helmet is very famous, and a Space Wolf with a chainsword and a wolf helm, who were like the 4 captain models for the 4 like principal chapters that were getting a lot of attention at the time. And he's the Blood Angel one, which Tycho is kind of modeled after, and all the subsequent death masks come from as well. I've got the excellent Blood Angels Death Company Chaplain to paint up. He's a lovely chaplain miniature with a bolter and a Crozius, and then he'll be my Mighty Hero Chaplain. And then I've got an Epistolary. No, Codicil? No, Epistolary. Whatever the level 2 is. Because I wanted to show off the Psychic phase, so I had to have a Psyker. And this is a Jess Goodwin sculpt. Beautiful Jess Goodwin Space Marine. And then a Apothecary, because you gotta have an Apothecary. Actually, you don't really, but they're neat and different. They can have warrior cards, so why not paint one? And a Tech Marine, because you do actually have to have a Tech Marine take a vehicle. So without a Tech Marine, you can't take dreads, you can't take any vehicles at all. You have to have someone to maintain your vehicle thing. And now I've based all of these on 28.5 mil bases. Now this is one of the things that kept me from doing this for so long. If you look at the size of the Marines and the size of the 25 mil bases, almost every Marine 2nd edition, his feet were overhanging these bases slightly. So I kept the plastic Mohawk Scouts. These are the Advanced Space Crusade Mohawk Scouts. I kept them on 25s just to like be able to show the difference. And because I think it's important that you show that these were kids back then. Like these were like genetically modified kids. But the 28s are just the right size, I feel like, for these Marines at this scale. And then I put all the Terminators in the Terminator Squad on 32s. And I had to have an Assault Cannon Terminator Squad, not just because it's good in 2nd edition. The Assault Cannons are where it's at. But because they're maybe the best heavy weapon in the game. But then I could put them on 32s, and they look really appropriate on 32s. Because imagine these guys on this base, because that's what they were on. Like, look at that. They were on that size base before. The bases were just way too small, even for the miniatures for back then. And so there's no real in-game benefit or loss for this. Like, it doesn't really change anything. It makes your footprint slightly bigger for blast weapons and templates and stuff, but it doesn't really... it's not going to modify the game almost in the slightest. I have 3 mil different on the Marine size bases or the Terminator bases. And then I did the original 2nd edition starter set tactical squad as my squad allowance. So in 2nd edition, you have to have 25% of your Army B squads. I like how I'm just ripping these off of the thing I was priming them on before while you guys watch. While I'm talking, I don't know why I didn't do that before I started the video, but I was like, I want to pick these up, and wait, they're stuck to these cardboard things. I'll probably airbrush them. A nice like rich red to get started, and maybe even like a brownish red up to red to get started for those guys, and then do the rest of the whites on the apothecary and the gold on the captain with my airbrush, and then start painting them. And this is like don't expect this all to get done in one setting unless I get obsessed, which I might. I mean, that might happen. I probably won't finish this all in one go. This is probably going to be like I treat myself to one of these. Maybe like when I'm in between other projects, like I'll hammer out something like the Pulp starter, and then I'll be like, oh, I'm going to just sit and paint a 2nd edition Space Marine because it's relaxing and it's fun. And that's my goal, is I just want to do these like to relax because they're super simple miniatures, but really nice. Oh, I just realized I ripped this guy off his base. There was no danger of him coming off that strip of tape, that painter's tape at all. I'll have to glue him back on. I wonder how many people caught that in the video and then we're just like, what is he doing? So it's this plus a dread, and it's 1,500 points. So I've got 3 squads: Terminator squad, tactical squad, and scout squad, just to kind of represent the 3 different kinds of Marines initially. I got a command staff of 5. And I got a big dready, the Furioso. Not Furioso, but like he was called Furioso, was the dread with the multi-melta, the big blood inch dread at the time. And that's it. So there's my next project of 2nd edition stuff. I am pumped for this. I got my hands on the Storms of Corral 2-player battle set for Relic Blade, which has 8 characters in a narrative campaign that basically has each of them representing their faction. So there's 4 advocate and 4 adversary factions in here. You have like a pool of like treasure you can find and a story-driven like episodic campaign to play through. I am pumped for this. I'm gonna try and get these painted for next week, so we can play through and you can see the missions. You basically start with Visions of the Watchtower, then you go to the Fogshard Ruins, the Shattered Cleft, and finally the Clash at Storm Height is the 4th mission. So expect a 4-game series come up on Mondays for Rockblade, 2nd edition, and featuring all of this cool new stuff. I'm really excited to play through this and for you guys to see it.
So there you go, another episode of On the Paint Table done, another 21 models painted, and lots of exciting new stuff coming up and in the hopper. I'm excited to play some 2nd edition. I need to get working on this so that I can try it out. I don't know, it's such a different game. There's some other stuff I want to do too, like I want to get the scenery right. I have the cardstock corners. My buddy in the UK, Craig O'Reilly, sent me a whole pile of them to play with. So I want to base those up like old school on some MDF to like reinforce them. I got all this stuff to make cocktail skewer trees because those are a very 2nd edition thing. Rogue Trader was all lichen. 2nd edition was all cocktail skewers and foam balls. And then I actually really want to make some foam core buildings and stuff too to go with it and do some like texture painting and a few other odds and ends. There's a bunch of stuff that I really want to get to do the 2nd edition right. I need to unpack my felt flocked mat, which I have, and iron all the creases out of it. I think I need to go get an iron to do that, so we can play on like a green flock table too. It's gonna be. I want to do it right. I'm gonna do it right. I'm gonna take it way back for the throwback. I'm pumped to give Pulp a go. I've got all this cool stuff. I just finished off Planet 28 series. I filmed that all this week, and I've got a bunch of stuff more coming up for Forbidden Zom I want to work on too, including some of these monsters. And then, of course, the Storms of Corral campaign. I'm going to paint those 8 miniatures to play through as well. So anyway, I'll see you next week to see what I get done. Till then, I'm Ash. Have a great day. I hope you enjoyed that video. If you want to support the channel, of course, like and subscribe and hit the little bell below to get notifications when I post future content. I do post stuff 7 days a week. If you want to support the channel further, you can, of course, buy a t-shirt through Spreadshirt, buy a measuring gauge or objective markers from Death Ray Designs, or, of course, most importantly, there is Patreon. Patreon is what makes all this possible, keeps the lights on, pays for the studio costs, pays for the equipment, model costs, and everything else, and most importantly, puts food in my kids' bellies and a roof over their heads. Big thanks to everyone, past, future, who supported me. I do this stuff because of you guys, and of course, I will continue doing it as long as I can.